Bonjour and welcome to La French Tech on Air, our European video podcast series on business and technology. My name is Milena Piermont. I'm the president of French Tech Amsterdam, and I will be your host today and moderator for this podcast. The French Tech is a unique movement bringing together startups, innovators, policymakers, and community builders based on 100 cities all over the world. In Europe, the French Tech ecosystem is made of 27 communities who are connecting to France, to the ecosystem of the French Tech in France, and who are also building a bridge to the European tech movement. Today, it is with great pleasure that I would like to introduce Clara Chapaz, the director of the French Tech, who is going to be explaining to us a lot of things about her vision regarding the French Tech movement in 2022. Clara, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. So this podcast will be organized around 3 moments for the discussion. The first one will look at 2022. And with the great momentum the French Tech is having, it is a privilege to hear from Clara what is cooking in the French Tech mission. Then we will talk about the idea of the 40 podcast, which is this great series that will start in January for the French Tech. What are the themes and what is behind what will be in those podcasts? And we will come today to the first topic, which is talent and how important it is. So we will then have a chapter on talent and looking at how we can make more talent bring and join the French Tech movement. So, Clara, you have joined the French Tech recently. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and why you joined the French Tech movement?
Of course. So indeed, I joined the Mission French Tech now a bit more than a month ago. It's my first time working for the public sector. I've always worked inside the startup ecosystem before. I was part of startups in Southeast Asia for a few years, in the US and in the UK. And I moved back to Paris a few years ago to join one of the big startups called Vestiaire Collective, which is a platform to buy and sell clothes and fashion accessories. And after having spent almost 10 years in the ecosystem, I really wanted to be able to contribute to the entire ecosystem and not just one company. So when I finished my job at Vestiaire, kind of restructuring, putting together the company with the new management team, I was looking for a new challenge, and I couldn't find a better fit than joining La French Tech, because this movement is very unique. It's actually one of the only state administration in the world which takes care of startups, and is really with the goal to help startups succeed and help French entrepreneurs all around the world to go after their dreams and really push together their projects. And it was for me a unique opportunity to take everything I had learned everywhere in the world and to put it at the service of this great objective.
Fantastic. So January 2022 starts in a couple of weeks. What are your plans for the French Tech?
It's as you mentioned in the introduction, it is quite a special moment for French Tech. When Mission French Tech started in 2013, it was very early. There was not that many startups in France. There was not a lot of tech giants yet at all in Europe. And I think it was quite visionary. The government thought we have to kind of work hand in hand together with the startups and the entrepreneurs to help them succeed, to facilitate their life, to put together this ecosystem so that they can build those new tech companies. And fast forward 2021, or actually nearly 2022, I think the progress has been really impressive. And it's really the result of, on the one hand, very creative, innovative, hardworking entrepreneurs, supported by this ecosystem, supported by the government. And what we're seeing is the dynamics is amazing. We have just reached 10 billion euros invested in France just a few weeks ago for the year 2021. It's more than double what was raised in 2020. So you're seeing an amazing acceleration. You also have more and more unicorns in France, with now 22 unicorns after the last one announced last week, Lydia, which is a payment app. It was only 3 unicorns in 2017. So you're seeing that everything is kind of adding up and really bringing the ecosystem to a next level. And beyond those very economical numbers, there's also the reality of the impact on the economy. You have more than 1 million people who actually work in startups in France today, and it's and approximately the same number of jobs are going to be created just in a few years. And it's also a very big driver for international development, because 40% of our French tech startups already do their revenues and activities abroad, out of the big ones, French Tech 120. And this number is projected to continue increase to reach 60% by 2025. So we're seeing this ecosystem is reaching a new step, and really exciting to be part of it.
Fantastic. So this podcast project is a moment for these talent, which are all over Europe, to participate, to share the knowledge they have acquired, the competence they have to help grow this ecosystem. So to create consistency and a louder voice for these French entrepreneurs and community across Europe, 3 communities, French Tech Bucharest, French Tech Amsterdam, and the French Tech Cracovie, have decided to join force and to create this project of podcast with 8 other communities. This idea was to create a common website and also to join forces to have their talent, be outspoken, so we can understand those great talent that are in those communities. So this is the start of joining forces, which is basically being ready to welcome this French Tech 120, as you mentioned, Clara, and to be ready with competencies that are also going to be helping staff those companies as they grow outside of France. So we are going to stage talent in those podcasts, and it's going to be a great thing for this momentum that you're having in this internationalization. So one of the important things of this podcast is that we have parked them on the 4 themes. So Clara, would you reveal the 4 themes that we'll have this series, please?
I'm going to do that in a minute. Before I do that, I also wanted to highlight that I think this initiative is really great, and it's definitely the way forward to kind of bring together all the communities in Europe, because we were talking about how the ecosystem is developing, but when you compare it to the US or China, the entire European ecosystem is still relatively small. You don't really have a huge tech giant coming out of Europe. When you think about like the biggest companies in the world, now 9 out of 10 are tech companies, but none of them is from Europe. So creating this movement together with our European communities is really going into this direction of becoming stronger and creating this third voice. And actually, France is going to take the presidency of the European Union on the 1st of January. So 2022 will be a big year for that. And we have the hope to be able to announce a few measures that should really help entrepreneurs succeed in Europe. But to come back to the 4 themes, so the themes that will be key in this podcast are 4. First, talents. Why talents? Because this is really what is at stake today for our companies. They're reaching a certain scale and they need those talents to develop. They need to continue to attract those talents, attract them from everywhere. In France, we launched the French Tech Visa, which is one of the most open in the world and which really enables young tech startups to attract people from all around the world. But this is just one step in our strategy for talent, for diversity, for inclusion that is critical for our tech companies. The second one is growth. We talked about it. We have bigger and bigger companies, but growth is still critical to reach this international level, to be part of the biggest companies and to make sure we have technological sovereignty. So growth is key for our tech ecosystem all around Europe. And actually with COVID, we are seeing that more and more of the French tech startups are considering Europe as a top priority for international expansion, when before they were eyeing on the US or Asia when they were thinking about growth. So there is definitely something happening here. The third theme is innovation. And here, I think there is a big challenge, a collective challenge in Europe to make sure we can also support the startups that are looking at deep tech innovations that are taking maybe longer than the digital innovation, but will be critical for the health of the ecosystem. So how can we support them? How do we make sure that all the types of innovation have a chance to succeed and not just the digital tech innovation in France and in Europe? And there's a lot of really cool projects, especially in the green tech or biotech that are starting to do really well, and we want to continue supporting that. And the last one is financing. Of course, we've made a lot of progress. I was talking about it. We reached the 10 billion mark of 10 billion euros invested in France in 2021. But it's still early for the financing ecosystem. There's still the need to continue fueling the growth of this startup. So especially to create European late stage funds, because a lot of the late stage funding is coming from the US. So we want to make sure we can continue supporting the startups at every step of their journey.
Wow, this is a real program. So thank you for also elaborating on those themes. These themes are important, and a lot of specific talent with competences in those tech, deep tech that you mentioned, fintech, clean tech, will be voicing also what they have started and share what their companies are doing all over Europe. So I think it's a marvelous moment for us to join forces to also give a voice to these entrepreneurs, mostly French, in these companies in Europe. So I just have a question for you, Clara, regarding all these talents. How do you plan to regroup and to support these international talent?
I think it's a very critical question because, as we were discussing earlier, talent will be the main success factors of all those companies. They're raising more and more money, but if they can't attract talents, if they can't develop talents, they're not going to be able to really deploy their strategies and grow. So there's a lot that has been done, for example, with the French Tech Visa in France to attract talents internationally. You have, I think, now more than 1,000 startups who have benefited from this visa since August 2021, so just a few months. So things are going in the right direction, but it's also highlighting the need for more and more diversity. What we want to make sure is that the ecosystem is outward looking and is attracting a diverse set of talents, and not just talents who are highly educated, who are coming from the best schools, who are coming mostly from big cities. We want to make sure that there is a chance for all types of talents to join tech. And some of the initiatives that we've launched in France that I think are quite exciting to talk about is, for example, French Tech Tremplin, which is really giving a chance to entrepreneurs who are not necessarily connected to those ecosystems to try and go and launch their companies. So there's a lot of ways that we can bring all the talents together. We can help them go after the tech opportunities because the job creation is going to be huge. So there is an opportunity for everyone to join the movement.
Fantastic. So Clara, a big thank you. The communities don't just accept diversity and inclusion, they celebrate it. We know it takes people with different